Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to the channel for another Smite 2 Open Beta 7 data mining post. This one was pretty interesting. We got something about, like, elemental gold furies potentially being added to the game, as well as some updates to the god list and, like, the percent chance of certain gods coming and things like that. So I thought it was worth covering. Without further ado, let's jump right in. As always, data mining can be inaccurate. This disclaimer is at the start of all my data mining videos, because sometimes, you know, something will appear in the data mining and then never actually makes it to the game, and people are like, where is this feature? Data mining doesn't necessarily mean it's coming to the game, and it doesn't necessarily mean that exactly how it's described in the data mining is how it's going to arrive in the game, even if it does. Things can be inaccurate, but generally it's fairly reliable. You know, 80 to 90% of the time, data mining is pretty much accurate with a lot of this stuff. At the very least, on a general high-level sense, you know, and maybe they're not exactly right on the specifics every single time, but it is pretty accurate a lot of the time in terms of, like, the core things that are actually coming to the game. But yeah, without further ado, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's jump in. So first up, there's going to be a new special Wandering Market collection. This says set to start on July 2025, so it's probably still a little while away if this date is accurate. And basically, it's going to be like a limited time special Wandering Market collection. It's going to leave after a few weeks. So, you know, the regular Wandering Markets, they stay forever. You can buy them whenever you want, but it seems like there's now going to be a limited traveler shop is what it's called here. And it's going to leave after a certain amount of weeks. It's going to be like a seasonal shop. You know, maybe there's going to be some summer themed skins in there or something like that. So basically, like a lot of the limited time events we had, you know, maybe like Summer of Smite, if you were there for that back in the day. We haven't done that in a little while. And it seems like those kind of events are just going to be done through the Wandering Market now. So it's going to be like some kind of special collection, time limited. And with it being a more special collection, you know, different to the regular ones, perhaps it could even be a larger Wandering Market with either larger pages or more pages or something like that. If it's going to be like a big, like, you know, Summer of Smite style event or something like that. Some new skin info as well. Achilles, Guan Yu, we talked about already. Kukul Khan is going to get Void Worm, and that's going to have prisms, which is pretty cool. Void Worm, one of the more popular Kukul Khan skins, and that's going to have, it's got a bright scale white prism. But I assume it's going to have, you know, the regular 4 prisms that every other prism skin has had so far. Maybe going forward, they might change that. You know, maybe it's not necessarily 4 prisms for every single skin that has prisms. You know, maybe some have 2, some have 3, some have 5. You don't know. Merlin Mystic Mischief has prism recolors as well. I'm not sure what that is. That might be a new skin, or that might be a classic skin. I can't exactly remember with Merlin skins. Wildstyle Milan is definitely either classic or cross-gen. Neath Base Cannon is already in the game, but they're going to be adding prisms to it by the looks of this. It says has prism recolors here. So Base Cannon is already in the game as a classic skin, but it seems like they're going to add prism recolors to it. Misdiagnosis Neath, a truly classic skin. This thing came out, I think this was out by the time I started playing the game, and I started playing in 2014. So yeah, true classic there, more than a decade old. That's going to be coming as well. No mention of prisms for that. Bunny Bliss, I think, might already be in the game. Pele Carnival Kiss has prism recolors again. I don't think this is a Smite 1 skin, but it might be. I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of hard to keep track of some of the skins that gods have when they have so many. But I don't recognize that name, so that might be an entirely new Pele skin with prism recolors. Sobek Sickening Strike is the name of his 3, so I'm not entirely sure what that means there. Again, data mining can be inaccurate and weird sometimes, but it seems like Sobek might be getting a skin. Could be called Sickening Strike, I guess, but that's just the name of his 3. And then Onyx Blade Susano, I believe, is a cross-gen skin. In fact, that might already be in the game. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, Onyx Blade Susano, if it's not already in the game, should hopefully become to the game soon. Well, moving on to the Gold Furies, which is like a big part of this post, which seems really interesting to me. So it's kind of like harking back a little bit to, you know, the Oni Fury, the Primal Fury from Smite 1, but it seems like it's going to be a more expanded system. So new jungle mechanic, Gold Fury variants. At this moment, it's unknown when or what triggers the different Gold Fury, probably pretty close to how League of Legends Dragons work, where it starts to rotate randomly after the second kill. Yeah, that's how Gold Furies worked in Smite 1 as well. You know, the first Gold Fury of the game would always be regular Gold Fury, and then it would start rotating between regular, Primal, and Oni Fury, with it not being able to be the same one twice. That sounds like how it's going to work in Smite 2 as well, but there's going to be more variants by the looks of this. So new Elder Gold Fury, this might just be the old Gold Fury remnants. It has different stats and debuff towers on kills. So yeah, that sounds like the Ancient Fury that is currently in the game. So maybe that is just going to be one of the variants. You know, one of the variants is basically taking the effect of Ancient Fury, and then there's also going to be different ones. But there's new elemental variants that are being introduced. There is the default Gold Fury. There's probably this Elder Gold Fury as well, and then there's Cosmic, Earth, Fire, and Lightning Furies. So not a whole lot of information information on Cosmic, Earth, or Fire, but Lightning says it should do more damage than a basic Gold Fury, has a strong knockback, she's faster, and has less cooldown for her attacks. So that's just in terms of like combat mechanics. It's going to be a little bit of a different fight if you're fighting a Lightning Fury. Hopefully that is the same for all these other ones, you know, make the fight a bit more interesting rather than just Gold Fury is swiping at you, lol. I think that could be cool, but no information on like what the actual effect is going to be. You know, maybe something movement speed based, maybe giving you like on hit damage or something like that. I'm not going to speculate too much. We'll probably see at some point when these are like officially revealed or we get more data mining info on them. Nature, we got some info as well. This one is hard to read, so we're unsure about what it does. It uses grass or spawns grass. Not sure if it's to move outside of the Gold Fury spawn point. So maybe like when Nature Fury is up, the entire like Gold Fury pit is stealth grass or something like that. And you know, maybe if you're attacking within that stealth grass, you're still not revealed to people outside of it. You know, maybe something like that. So you could potentially like stealth take a Nature Gold Fury without the enemy really realizing it if the entire pit is stealth grass kind of thing. That'd be an interesting like unique mechanic to its fights. You know, you'd have to be in the grass to be able to see who's in it and who's taking it. It mentions a pit, pyro, scorpion duo as solo and tier 2 towers. Interesting. Scorpions, you know, that is something that is technically on the map. It's the Eye of the Jungle camp is a scorpion, but also, you know, we had scorpions as a unique mechanic in Smite 1 for a while in terms of like those things that you could take that would kind of almost roam a little bit like Queen Nagas. They wouldn't roam, but they would spawn in different spots. Probably it's just referencing the Eye of the Jungle camp though, I would imagine. And then, you know, like pit, pyromancer, duo, and solo tier 2 towers. Kind of interesting. Maybe it's some kind of tower and jungle camp buff. This sounds, honestly, maybe could just be very similar to Primal Fury, potentially. You know, Primal and Nature are kind of similar things. And, you know, the fact that it's mentioning towers and jungle camps and stuff like that, maybe it's similar to Smite 1 Primal Fury, where you get that damage bonus and reduced damage taken from jungle camps. Maybe it applies to towers as well in Smite 2. And finally, it also says Nature Grass Regen heals 0.5% max health every 1 second. So maybe this means you heal passively while you're in Stealth Grass, and maybe that's the unique effect of taking this Gold Fury. You know, kind of like they had the unique effects of taking the first and second and third Gold Fury at the moment in Smite 2, you know, where you get the extra movement speed out of Fountain, the minion buffing, and then I can't remember what the third one is. Ultimately, they weren't really overall that impactful. You didn't particularly play for them, but it sounds like, you know, maybe with these unique variants, you might actually want to play for them more, and, you know, you might see that the next one is Nature and really want to take it because you can get this grass regen. Presumably, that is something that it will be similar, where as soon as you take a Nature Fury for the rest of the game, you have this passive effect no matter what, and that you will heal while in Stealth Grass, which is kind of interesting. You know, some late game fights do play around Stealth Grass a little bit, could give you a bit of extra regen. Could maybe even tie like some extra grass spawns to the Nature Fury. You know, maybe there's a little bit less grass on the map by default, but then a couple of extra patches spawn when the first Nature Fury of the game is taken or something like that. Kind of interesting. Yeah, as I said, there's no information on the Fire, Earth, or Cosmic. Default, I assume, will just be default. Probably give more gold than the other ones, but no additional effects. And then, yeah, Cosmic, Earth, and Fire could have some unique effects very similar to what we've got for Nature Fury here. But they've also got Killing Gold Fury buff. Unknown if Gold Fury buff changes depending on which Gold Fury variant we're fighting, but seems likely. Yeah, I think this would make sense. You know, we had this with, you know, Oni Fury and Primal Fury in Smite 1. League of Legends has this with the dragons. I think that just makes sense, you know, and even this, you know, like the Nature Grass Regen, that sounds like a kill effect for the Nature Fury, as I was mentioning. There's a Gold Fury key. All doors are open to you, so maybe that drops from just a regular Gold Fury, so like the first one of the game, or if it does end up coming up in the rotation afterwards, although there are a lot of variants here, so maybe it won't. And this is just all doors are open to you, so, you know, this would be like Fire Giant doors and base doors currently at the moment. Maybe there will be more doors added, but at the moment, you know, that's just allows you to open the base doors for free and the Fire Giant doors for free. Gilded Armor, getting plus 50 protections when near an enemy structure. Gilded Strength, deal plus 25% bonus damage against structures. Gilded Speed, enhanced speed obtained from the Gold Fury from leaving Fountain, and then Leadership buff and aura that increases strength and int. So just some buffs there, and different things that maybe would apply to certain Gold Furies. You know, maybe like, for example, the Earth Fury gives you this Leadership buff or whatever. That might not be how it works, but there's some various buffs listed there. And then we got a few models here as well. You know, currently they just kind of look like recolored versions of the regular Gold Fury. Maybe that's how it'll be on launch, but I imagine at some point they would want to like properly texture out new Gold Furies, kind of like they did with the Oni Fury and Primal Fury in Smite 1. But yeah, for the moment, it looks like they've just kind of like essentially made prisms of the Gold Fury with the Cosmic, Fire, Earth, Lightning, and Nature Furies. And interestingly, this item icon used to be the Other World key. It was an unreleased item in Smite 1 that never got released that would allow you to open a Janus portal before Janus was actually released. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting little bit of trivia there. But yeah, this Gold Fury stuff seems really interesting, man. Hopefully this comes to the game at some point fairly soon, because currently the Gold Furies are a little bit boring. Having all these different variants, you know, maybe if they give them powerful enough effects, you might genuinely try and play around them as a team. Like if you see that the next spawn is going to be an Earth Fury, you might really want that, and so you'll make a specific play for it, compared to just like at the moment, you don't really think about like which Gold Fury of the game it is. Maybe if you're playing at, you know, competitive level, maybe you do, but for the most part, you know, even me who plays at a pretty high level, I'm not really thinking about, oh, which Gold Fury is this? Do we really need this? I'm not really thinking about that. I'm just thinking, okay, Gold Fury's up, let's take it for the gold. So hopefully these different variants can have, you know, really powerful, unique effects that you really don't want to lose out on. And hopefully they also change it to where, like, if you take the Fire Fury, they're not going to be able to get that effect anymore, which I assume it would be if with these variants, because currently, like, if you take the first Gold Fury, you get the first Gold Fury effect, but then when they take their first Gold Fury, they also get the effect. It kind of like neuters a little bit of the reason why you would want to play around a certain Gold Fury, because you can't really take that effect away from the enemy team. You know, it's just you're getting that effect, and then eventually they'll get it as well when they get a Gold Fury. But with these different variants, probably, you know, if you get the Fire Fury effect, they would have to wait for an entire new Fire Fury to respawn, which might take a while. So yeah, really interesting stuff. Hopefully this does come to the game soon. Hopefully get some official info on it, be able to see what's actually going on, because it seems really interesting. Moving on though, we got a little bit of updated information about the God release schedule as well. Not really anything too crazy, but Scylla's gone up to a 75% chance, as has Ganesha. So that's interesting. You know, open beta 12 and 13 are probably going to be these two gods in whatever order. Based on the fact that the new god will probably be some kind of support, maybe Scylla will come before Ganesha, just because we haven't had a new Smite 2 support yet. So if it is going to be Hasta, whatever god it is going to be, is probably going to be a support, or at least support viable, I would imagine. Because currently we've had a mid with Hecate, we've had a jungler with Aladdin, we've had a soul laner with Mordred, and we've had a ADC with Princess Barry. Also, obviously, some of those gods are fairly flexible. Mordred can kind of play jungle. Hecate can kind of play support, but, you know, they were mostly made with those four roles in mind. So I would imagine Hasta, if it is going to be Hasta, ends up being a support. And so maybe Scylla will come before Ganesha for that case, you know, rather than releasing two supports in a row. But yeah, Scylla and Ganesha are probably going to be the open beta 12 and 13 gods. King Arthur's still sitting at a 10% chance, probably still going to be a little while until we see him. And then Wukong is at a 30% chance now. So maybe Wukong is going to be the open beta 14 god, and then, I don't know, maybe King Arthur in open beta 15 at the earliest is what it sounds like. And then, of course, we still got these other gods that were revealed. You know, Horus and Rat are the only ones that aren't talked about here. So Horus and Rat will probably come soon after that, as maybe, you know, like open beta 16, 17 gods. But yeah, there you go. Just a pretty quick data mining post to go over. It's got some pretty interesting stuff, though. You know, some updates to the god roster. These whole, like, Gold Fury thing is a massive amount of the post, and it's really interesting stuff. Some new skins and all that as well. But let me know what you think down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Probably for the patch notes tomorrow, actually, the open beta 8 patch notes. So yeah, I'll catch you guys for that, and have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.